here. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and just give me a moment to go Facebook, talk amongst yourselves. And in fact, Janette, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I wanted to get to know all the guests here. So please type your name and contact information, how we can reach you. And so during the show, if you have a question and we're unable to get to it, if you type it in the chat, then I can reach out to you.
Yes, for sure. Okay. So I think we are live. Yes, we are. Okay, so here we go. All right. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is a very exciting. Let me lower that volume. Welcome, everybody. So we're broadcasting live. We're doing a live Zoom, and we're also broadcasting, obviously, on Facebook for those that are in the Facebook world. So this is a very exciting webinar because the name just really grabs people. Is he cheating? And for those that didn't find it that interesting enough to come on, it is actually a really amazing webinar to come on to, because it is not really just so much focused on is he cheating per se, but it's focusing on deception detection. And that is a valuable skill set to have anywhere in your life, because if you're in business or wherever, I mean, it's absolutely incredible to have it. So let me fix that. And I do want to keep an eye on Facebook as well and make sure I shout out to people as they come on. So hopefully they will be able to come on. So let me introduce myself, and then I will have my fabulous co-host introduce herself. Good evening. My name is Dr. Lori Monaco. My business is Align Yourself, Inc. I am a teacher, speaker, coach. My coaching sessions and my workshops are all mindfulness centered and focus on transformation and authenticity. I am also a chiropractic physician. I have been a chiropractor for over 23 years with a lot of training in health and wellness, obviously. So I am also a coach, not just a life coach, but I'm also a health and wellness coach. I do have a weight loss program and a wellness program, but I specialize in my life coaching for women 35 and over who have to start over. I like the newbies. I like the women that have hit their rock bottom, maybe because of a cheating husband. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because God knows I've had that happen to me. So, and we'll get into that in a moment. But that is what I specialize in. I specialize in working with women who have depression or sadness. Maybe they're not diagnosed formally with depression, anxiety, having to start over, being at a certain age and feeling like their life is nowhere where they want to be, because that was me. And I had to start my life over at 46. So I take great pleasure in helping women understand their power, because once you understand it, it's phenomenal. And that is why I am known as the Badass Buddha, because I made sure that I understood my power and stepped into it. Not stepped into the other stuff, but stepped into my power. All right. So Janette, you hit it, and I'm going to start sharing away on my Facebook.
Hi, everyone. I am Lori's sidekick for tonight. I am a deception detection expert, right, Tommy? In other words, I bust liars, okay? And all of us should be able to tell who is credible and who is not credible, because just imagine how much better our lives would be if you know in the moment when there's distress, discomfort, deceit, or dis-ease, so that you can navigate through the conversation to get the best outcome that you want, and also to filter riffraff out and welcome good intended people in. Right, Wanda? So, right, Laura?
And there is a lot of riffraff out there. You know, we are, one of the topics that we're actually going to cover tonight, Janette is going to, because Janette she's not just a detection expert, deception expert, and she can teach you how to do it, because that's what she does. She teaches people how to become experts in their own lives to be able to detect deception. But she's also a therapist. So she's been studying mental disorders for years. And we are actually going to talk about the narcissistic personality disorder, because that is one of the most common lying disorders out there. And we are epidemic. You know, we talk about the other epidemic that's going on. Let's talk about the real epidemic, which is narcissists.
Yes,
They're everywhere. So we're going to have that conversation tonight. So let me really quickly just tell you my story and why have this type of webinar. Well, part of it was I wanted any excuse to be able to work with my friend Janette, because she's just the coolest. But the other thing is that, you know, I spent the better part of 45 years, and I say 45 years total, even though I was a baby, but okay, so maybe 35 years, having no concept of understanding how people work and lie. And I was always a very honest person and very trustworthy person. And as a result, not as a result of that, but as a result of poor boundaries and not being taught at an early age, you know, certain skills that would have been really helpful, I was taken advantage of a lot. And it took me to hit a rock bottom place in my life at the age of almost 46. I was 45. And I hit a very bad time in my life. I had a massive depression, lasted 6 months long. I was suicidal for 3 weeks because of somebody else's really bad choices. And I was thrown completely out from, like, the rug was pulled out from underneath me. I didn't expect what had happened to me in my marriage. And I didn't notice it. I didn't see any signs. And after that happened and I started to get better and I started to feel better, one of the pieces in my personal growth was to understand why I was the way I was and how to not let myself get taken advantage of again. And one of them was to learn how to read deceptors, you know, and it's extraordinarily interesting. I'm not certified like Janette is, but I have a big background in it, because when you get played enough times in your life, you sure don't want to get played again. I'm going to tell you. And especially when it's your personal growth, when you are finally done with it. And that's what I was done with it. And so as a result, I shifted my business. Everything happens for a reason, right? And I saw the beauty I pulled the light from the darkness. And now I help women and empower them to understand themselves and understand people and set healthy boundaries and just rock their world. And so that's my goal in life. And someday I will have a retreat center that we will do this at. But for now, this is where it is. And I do in-person stuff too. Okay, so being around somebody who lies compulsively or chronically or pathologically, well, there's so many words we can, use here. Being around somebody who lies a lot will tear you apart after a while. If you are blissfully unaware and you don't know they're lying, you can get away with it for a lot longer. But I'm going to tell you that your gut is much greater at detecting than you are. Very often you will feel it deep down inside you. You will know that it's going on, and you'll just fight it. You'll keep fighting that feeling that you have. And the longer you fight it, or if you start to notice the actual behavior and you are starting to see that the person is not being truthful to you, and you either question them on it and you keep getting runarounds, which you'll do, and we're going to talk about that, or you just are afraid to ask them because you're afraid they're going to erupt at you, whatever, it will eat away at your spirit. It will eat away at your mental health. It'll eat away at your emotions. It will affect your mind, your body, and your spirit. You could get yourself sick. You could develop physical ailments. You could develop physiological ailments like actual digestive disorders, you name it. It is that toxic to be around individuals who lie. Now, there are light lies. For me to say I never lie would be a lie. I have kids. I lie, like, oh no, we can't do that tonight for some reason, and but there's a difference between those quote white lies, telling somebody that you love that, that, okay, you don't look that, you don't want to say, well, you look terrible in that dress. You say, well, you want to be honest, but you don't want to be like harsh, right? There's a difference between the white lies and the real deep ones that hit at you and interrupt your values and whatever, like anything that hits you to the core that like in relationships or whatever, because those are the ones that are, those are dangerous lies, right? And those are the ones that people guard real hard, because when they're lying, they're all doing it. They're all in it for themselves. It's a completely selfish thing that's happening. The white lies are often done to spare the other person, although sometimes that's what we say. Maybe it's spare us too. But so any type of lying, like hardcore chronic lying, short term could bother you, but on the long term, it could kill you. And there have been people that have actually committed suicide because they got so depressed from living with individuals who were pathological liars, chronic liars, that just manipulated them to such a level that they didn't even know if they were coming or going. And I came close to that, myself. So I'm going to go through, we're going to go through a little bit of an outline here. So we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about signs of him cheating. Okay. And it could be a she cheating, so it doesn't really matter. Or anybody that's lying to you in general, because you'll see the similarities in somebody that's a cheater and somebody that's just a liar in general that wants their way. And then I'm going to hand it off to Janette, and she's going to talk about narcissistic personality disorder. She's going to talk to you about micro expressions, body language reading, and how she does it and what to look for, which is the coolest part. And then I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to talk about the things that cheaters say, because that will coincide with the micro expressions and the body language, things that they say, myths about liars, how to be prepared for a confrontation when you're going to do it, and then how to heal yourself from betrayal or narcissistic abuse, or and then recover from it. Okay, so let me get started with signs that he's cheating. Okay, so I had the pleasure, by the way, of being married to two individuals who cheated on me extensively. And I laugh about it now because because I've healed from it, right? Does it still come up every so often? Sure, there are things that remind me and I have to check in with myself. But for the most part, I can actually talk about it as a joke, because I'm not attached to it anymore. And it's not a detachment. It's a non-attachment, which is a mindfulness practice. They're two very different things. But in the midst of it, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. Not to mention that I've also been, I was a super attractor for narcissists. So when Janette starts to talk about that piece, you're going to see what narcissists are like, and you're going to know some, you're going to have immediate people pop in your head. And when you're around that toxic behavior, I've had friends that were that way, spouses, I've dated people, sibling, that's like that. So when you're around that, it takes its toll on you. Okay. And you second guess yourself, even when your gut is telling you. I mean, I remember when I was first dating my first husband, I kind of thought something was up, but I didn't find out till like 9 months later, I was the other woman. I had no idea. Right. And then I broke up with him, and then he reeled me back in, and then it went on for 8 years. And then, I thought I was done with that. And then went on to date somebody else, married that individual, and 14 years later found out that this individual was lying to me from day one. So you want to talk about self-loathing. I was the queen of it for a while, and if I can come out of that, I can help anybody come out of that, or you could come out of that however way you want to do it. It's possible, right? So when somebody is cheating and you're thinking they're cheating, these are some of the signs that you want to pay attention to. And, if you want to write this down, that's great. It will also be up on YouTube, so you'll be able to see it, and we'll give you a link. But this is really important, because we second guess ourselves and we think that it's not true, and we talk ourselves out of it. But these are the legit signs that are often accompanying an individual who's cheating. So improved appearance, they'll lose weight. Sometimes that's what causes the cheating. They lost weight, and all of a sudden they feel good about themselves. And next thing you know, they're out and about, or they start picking themselves up a little bit, dressing a little differently because somebody's interested. Secretive phone or computer use. They went from being pretty open in front of you, and then all of a sudden they're leaving the room, or they're quickly clicking on their computer before you come into the room, which is a good sign that they don't want you to see something. periods where your significant other is unreachable. You know, you're calling them on the phone, you're texting them, they're not getting back to you. Okay. Significantly less or more or different sex in your relationship. You know, sometimes they get uninterested in you, or you haven't had much of a sex life and they're good with that. But I got to tell you, I was actually the opposite. The first husband was less sex. The second husband, no change. In fact, I think it even increased. So if you're only going by the idea that they don't want you anymore, but if your sex life has not changed and you're thinking, oh, well, no, they can't be going playing, you know, out there, you know, believe me, they could be. And especially if they start adding things to your sex life that they've never done before. Like all of a sudden these new techniques come into play and new positions. And I mean, I'm getting graphic with you here because I want you to understand the reality of this. I don't hold back. Okay. I really don't hold back. So those of you that know that have worked with me, you know, you're gonna fix yourself unless you know the truth. Right. So let's see, your partner is hostile toward you and your relationship, or they're overly attentive and helpful. Like all of a sudden they're helpful around the house. All of a sudden they're like, you know, doing stuff for you. So it's any huge change. Okay. Let's see. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Go ahead and mute yourself, please, if you don't mind. And if you have questions, you could put it in the chat, or you feel free to raise your hand and we can answer a question for you. We just got started, so you're pretty good. Okay. You haven't missed much. All right. So let me go a little bit faster so we can get stuff in here and finish on time. An altered schedule. Friends seem uncomfortable around you because they know things that you don't know. Unexplained expenses, or no expenses all of a sudden. Like they were out getting coffee all the time and then they were out getting food, and all of a sudden that stops because somebody else is buying it, or they are using a secret account and then they don't want you to, because they don't want you to see the transactions anymore. And then all of a sudden it just stops. Emotional intimacy has faded. When you ask about cheating, your partner deflects and avoids. Look at phone. They look at their phone, but avoid answering their phone or text when you're around. So their phone's ringing, or it's, you know, some notification is coming up. They'll look at it, but they won't do anything with it because you're in the room. They may lie about who it was. They may answer the phone and say, yeah, hey, I'm with you. So I used to get this a lot. They would say, they'd answer the phone and they say, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm just hanging out with Lori right now. So they would tell the person that they were with me, and that would be code to say, I can't talk right now, but to throw off the suspicion, like I'll answer it so my wife won't think anything's wrong, you know, like this is just a friend of mine, because that's the big thing. That's just a friend, right? But he always threw out my name. Let's see. May seem like a casual conversation, but that's the code word by saying my name. Okay. What else do we have? Take phone with them all the time. They place the phone downward so you do not see calls or text notifications coming up. They have you'll look at their phone and they have apps on their phone that they've never had there before. And they're not just like games or anything like that, or they could be games. Suddenly liking or interested in things they never were before, like out of the blue or because their friend suggested it. Call you on their way somewhere, often as soon as they leave work, let's say. Then say they have to get off the phone because oh, there's traffic, or you know, I'll see you in a little bit anyway, and I'll call you later. At which point they call the other person. This was also one that was big with me. I used to get the call and they say, hey, just checking in on you, what's up? And it was a way to know where I was and what I was doing, and that he called. And then as soon as we hung up, I'd have no reason to talk to him. And I'm telling you, these are the things they do not tell you. I learned a lot of these myself, right? Okay, so with that, let's go to Janette, and let's have Janette talk about the most hellacious liars out there. Were the most common group of individuals where you will hear lies, like the pathological or the chronic liars coming from it. And go ahead, take it away, Janette.
I want all of us to trust our bodies. Rub your tummy. Everybody rub your tummy. If your gut and your intuition is trying to whisper to you or actually blare red signals at you, believe your body. So many of us doubt ourselves or discount our feelings about things, or something doesn't feel right. But Lori mentioned any change in behavior. When reading body language, right, Tommy? It's always about change in baseline. Change in baseline. Prevention is the best policy. That's why I am going over the narcissistic personality traits so that we are aware. And if you want the traits to be emailed to you, just type in the chat, Janette, I want the traits, and I will email those to you. Prevention is best. Get a decent, honest person, and that will save years and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of pain and agony. So there's a big difference between ordinary liars and extraordinary liars. All of us are ordinary liars. Extraordinary liars are different because their brain function and structure is literally different. Their white to gray matter is different. On fMRIs, how they process oxygen and which parts of their brain get activated or don't get activated. These people in cluster B in the DSM-5 for medical and mental health professionals, cluster Bs are personality disorders. So the pathological liars' brains are different. You are fooling yourself if you think that they are going to change, or if they are going to, turn things around because you have a baby or you have a family, or because he's married to you or she's married to you. Their brains are different. They lack remorse. They lack conscience. They feel entitled. Speaking of entitled, let's go through it. Number one, grandiose sense of self-importance. Grandiose sense. And Tommy, could you type some of these? But I'll email these to you. So Tommy, you don't need to, because I'll email them to the group. Okay, a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for constant admiration, need applause, need us to bow down to them. We literally have people in our government like this, in the media like this. So these should be like spot on. If you come across anybody with these traits, run like hell. Run like hell, because you can't rein them in, and do not get seduced by their superficial charm or bait to get you in. The pervasive pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, lack of empathy. They don't give a rat's ass about you, because it's always about them. If you are just an object, and that even includes their children. Their children are only objects to them because they don't know how to love. They don't know how to love because they didn't get it from their parents, and their brains are different. This all started at early adulthood. I can see personality disorders starting to develop from 6 years to 13. Okay, because their brains have already started to formulate. And so this is a pervasive pattern across multiple dimensions of their life. They have to meet 5 or more of these characteristics. Number one, grandiose sense of self-importance. They exaggerate their achievements, AKA lie. They lie like they breathe. Whereas all of us would feel a little guilty and maybe nervous about lying, they don't sweat it. That's why they can pass lie detector tests, because they don't have cortisol in their system, which indicates a nervousness about lying. They are rewarded by lying. So they want to lie, and they They find it very easy to dupe all of us because we are suckers to them. That's how they view us. Number 2, preoccupied by fantasies of unlimited success and power, beauty, and love. All right, but it's all superficial. Number 3, feels that they are entitled or special and can only associate with people who can be of benefit to them. Number 4, requires excessive admiration, excessive. We all like to be admired and to be acknowledged, but theirs goes excessive. Number 5, sense of entitlement, as I said. It's a deep hole that can never be filled, right, Lori? There's never, ever enough. You cannot kiss their feet enough because it's always more and more. Number 6 is interpersonally exploitative. You are only a transaction to them. They only want something from you because you feel their need of some sort, but it does not go both ways. They don't know how to give and take. They are takers. They're parasites. Number 7, lacks empathy. fMRI scans show that the parts of the brains, the medical parts of the brains that process empathy, they lack that capacity. They truly cannot feel empathetic. So if you think, oh, they'll be better after I have the baby. No, they're not gonna be better after you have the baby. And don't keep popping out babies, right? Because you're just digging yourself deeper in a hole. Back to number 7, lacks empathy again. It comes up again. And number 8 is often envious. They have such a wounded self-esteem. They overcompensate it with the narcissist, but truly inside they are a deeply wounded, insecure individual that's so jealous of anybody else who might be doing well. And so they will plot to tear that person down to make them, quote, feel better. So those are the traits. Oh, and number 9 shows arrogance. You know, they walk in the room and everybody has to bow down and say you are queen or king. So those are the traits. If you'd like, you know, the full printout, let me know and I will email those to you.
And you know, understand something too with narcissists, you know, there's different types. And the most dangerous type, well, the most dangerous type is a malignant narcissist, but the most common type that's dangerous is the covert. You know, all that stuff that Janette was saying, it's subtle sometimes. You don't even know. You'd be like, oh no, he's not arrogant. He's not like that at all. But you don't know how he is with certain people, you know,
Yeah.
and the baseline for all of them is they're insecure. They feel entitled, whether they're outwardly, you know, it's noticeable or not, but they want their way, bottom line. And you are a transaction, and they are not fixable. Even if they've very rarely, you know, and most likely the only ones that can really get help are the ones that really aren't even quite diagnosed with the actual personality, you know, the disease itself. They are the ones that have the traits, you know, they just sort of have narcissistic qualities or traits, but and they have levels of empathy. They could fool you and lie to you and make you think that they're empathetic, but it's actually a lie. It's only to serve them. That's how you have to look at it. So that means the lies will always be to serve. It's for them, you know, that's the only reason they're lying. They didn't lie to save you. They didn't lie not to hurt you. They lied to save their ass. That's the bottom line. That's really what it comes down to. So why don't you talk about, Janette, how to read this? Because this is the most fascinating part right here.
Yeah. So it's very important to know those traits because you can then spot somebody earlier than usual, so that you don't get sucked in to their web of manipulation and lies. Once you get sucked in and entangled in that, then they've got you wrapped up around in a chokehold and it's harder to get out. So it's better to notice these traits early on so you can see that door so that you can exit stage left. And I'm serious. And he could be, or she could be promising you, you know, a good life, and you don't have to work, and all you have to do is take care of the children. It's all a trap. Lori and I can't stress this enough. How to tell if someone's lying is you have to really pay attention. You have to really pay attention in the moment and notice any change in their behaviors when you are interacting with them. I like the A, B, C analysis. A is the antecedent. So if you baseline somebody and with neutral, non-threatening questions, and then if I say to Tommy, where were you last night? And then you notice changes in Tommy's behavior, that question was a trigger question. So that's the antecedent. Then I have to wonder, why is Tommy so nervous when I ask him, where was he last night? B, I'm noticing Tommy's behaviors. Let's say Tommy's starting to blink more. Everybody do this. Because when we do the trait, then that sticks with us. So if you see an increase in blink rate, okay, now everybody distance yourself further from the camera. And he pulls away, and let's say, okay, start touching yourself, pacifying yourself. Or he does this. See, that's like 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, divert your eye gaze. Can't even look at me, right? So start counting all of the changes in your target's behavior, then cluster those into like a puzzle. You're clustering the clues to say, wow, why did Tommy just give me like 8 changes in his behavior? All right. So A is the antecedent, B is the behavior, and C is you're clustering the clues, and you become D, a detection, deception detective, to investigate. So I hope that that helps in our short amount of time to figure out, wow, why is this person changing? As you know, Lori mentioned with that great list of change in behavior. You're looking for change in behavior. And believe me, with Tiger Woods' wife, she saw all the clues, but she discounted it. No, he can't do that, right? I just popped out his baby. That's probably exactly when they do it, because he's not getting enough sex from her because she's pregnant and delivering the baby, or just delivered the baby. So it's change in behavior. So everybody type in the chat, change in behaviors. That's the key. That's your main takeaway from me tonight.
And I'm going to say that, Janette, you got to check Janette's, you know, you got to reach out to her, because she does this very cool class where she actually takes a broadcast, you know, of an interview of something that's like a, you know, current event. And she shows you how the individual is actually lying. And she shows the facial expressions, the body language. She stops it. She shows you how to read it. She'll show you the interviewer's reaction, how things are off. And I'm telling you, because this is what I started to study too. When you start learning how to do this, it's a game changer. It really, really is, because the interesting thing about what narcissists do, but anybody who lies a lot, whether they're a narcissist or not, they want you to think you're crazy. They want you to think that, you know, you don't make any sense. There's something wrong with you. And you will second guess yourself like that, because especially if it's somebody that you're married to, it's hard, or somebody that you're related to, it's hard to believe that somebody who, quote, loves you that much would ever do something so horrible as to lie and cheat on you in a massive way, especially, we're not talking about, oh my God, I found out, 2 years later that they got drunk one night when they went out with their friends and they slept with somebody and that was that. We're talking about, well, that sucks, but we're talking about the individuals who are compulsively cheating, that are doing this all the time. How could they come home and act like nothing because they are very good deceivers?
Yes.
They purposely
a lot of practice.
And they've had lots of practice for years, and they purposely pick out and find people such as me, that are naive to it, because when you're a very trusting individual, you don't pick up clues or cues. And because you just can't imagine people are like that, because you're not like that. And that's what's so interesting, because people who lie a lot will often accuse so many other people of lying. They'll accuse you of cheating, because they know their behavior and they're always suspicious because that's how they are. So that's why it's so mind-blowing sometimes when that happens. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. So we're going to talk about things cheaters say. So again, we're giving you this information so that you can, next time they, if you're questioning things, and you hear these things, it's mind-blowing to me how it's almost like they take a class on it. Like, I swear to God, they say, oh, listen, we're going to teach you how to cheat, and you're going to get a certificate in the end, and this is what you say, and this is how you act, and this is what you do. Because when I started to learn this stuff, especially with narcissistic behavior, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, they all do this. So
Yeah.
all right. They do, right? So, and Janette knows, she's worked with individuals like this, and she's a deception expert, which narcissists all lie. They all do. So, how severe they lie, it's compulsive, and it's also chronic. So, maybe the lies are smaller, but they lie, but most of the time it's pretty big. Okay. So
lie.
Yeah. So things cheaters say, they say things like, they don't mean anything to me. So this is when you're asking them, you're confronting them. Okay. They don't mean anything to me, or she doesn't mean anything to me, or he doesn't mean anything to me.
That's minimizing.
Thank you. Yes. Throw in the psychology, the vocabulary, the terminology. Fabulous. Okay. See, this is why we make a good tag team. All right. We're just friends. Again, minimizing it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one. We're just friends.
And you guys type the word in the chat, because when your fingers type the words, you retain the information. So it's gaslighting when they try to make you look crazy.
Yes.
Or psychological projection. So the two last examples, everybody typed minimizing.
Yes.
Oh, it was just one time today.
And the reality is this, look, you know what? We all have friends, think about it in your terms. Okay. So if you think that your significant other is cheating, and they say, oh, well, she's just a friend, and he has a lot of friends. He has a lot of girlfriends, like friends, quote. How many guy friends do you have that you hang out with and talk to? You know what I'm saying? Like, when a person's married, and this is the way I look at it, there's only so many opposite, the different gender, the opposite gender of the person. There's only a certain amount that a person can be friends with. Like, there's no need for them to be friends with all these extra opposite gender individuals, unless they had these friendships prior to ever meeting you. If these were established friendships, like long-term friends, they've had them for a long time. But we're talking about while you're married, and all of a sudden these women start coming out and being friends. That's kind of something's not right there. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Again, minimizing.
And Tommy Norman is my friend. So if your quote friend can have an introduction to your spouse, then they truly are a friend. Right, Tommy?
Good point. Yep, good point. It's not like we had sex. Again, minimizing. It's not like we had sex. There are different levels of cheating. Okay. And this is fairly true. Men often, when they think of what constitutes cheating, it's always a sexual relationship. But females, we look at it as sexual. It could be an emotional relationship. If the man is sharing stuff with this other woman that he doesn't share with you, if he's saying things talking about your intimate relationship with this woman, this is not okay. If he's getting close and he's saying things like, I love you over the phone, that's not okay. And so you have to establish, like, you have to define that. Not that you have to explain yourself, but when you confront that and say, oh, we're just friends and we're just really close, they're my best friend. Yeah, I don't think so. That's an emotional connection. You're emotionally cheating. Okay. So again, it's all about minimizing. Just because they did not have sex does not mean it's still not cheating.
Say that last
It'll,
sentence again, because I want to do some statement analysis on that last sentence.
it's not like we had sex.
Okay, it's not like we had sex. Okay, type that in. It's not like we had sex. That is a statement analysis, meaning that we did other things, like showing pictures, talking naughty,
Yes.
a blowjob. It's
Yes,
not like
because what do you define as sex? That's the other thing.
sex.
According to what's his name, the ex-president.
Right. I did not have sex.
Still relationship.
That woman is distancing.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
It'll never happen again. They came on to me. I didn't do anything. I always
Except
love that one.
have sex.
I mean, your thing just made it in her. That's it. Your pants just dropped and your thing made it in her. And, it's amazing. Okay. Told you I could be just in your face here. So, and it's all a little bit of tongue in cheek too. Don't go dirty with that one that I just said. Okay. I never wanted to hurt you. I love that one. No, you just never wanted to get caught is what it was. I love you. I'm just not in love with you. It was only a one-time thing. I got to tell you, I was told that it was only a one-time thing. I was drunk. It didn't, whatever. And the more I dug and the more I looked and found that was absolutely not true. It was a 14-year thing.
It's
So-
only a one-time thing today, or it's
Today.
only a
Nice.
one-time thing since I got home.
Fabulous.
In statement analysis, remember that liars omit certain words and statements. It's not just what they say, but what they don't say.
Yes.
They don't
Thank
say.
you. Thank you for that, Janette. That is very, very true. That is this is the piece that Janette can teach you in her stuff, because it is what they're not saying. It's what they're omitting. So you don't trust me? They love throwing that one out.
So that's the turning the table, right? Instead of Lori interrogating the cheater, they want to flip it around so that they're asking her questions to regain control.
Yes.
Do not fall for this trap.
Yep. Beautiful. See, manipulative behavior. It's very common. You're crazy. There's the gaslighting.
Everybody type gaslighting. Gaslighting is when you know the truth and you caught them blatantly in the lie, and they will flat out blatantly lie to make you doubt yourself, where you feel you're crazy. And that is an exploitatory ploy, because they want to take the heat off of them.
Yes.
And project it on anybody else.
Yes.
So that's gaslighting. And notice how you can see this in the media all day long.
Yep. Yep.
The sky is blue. No, it's not. It's pink. And you're looking at the sky and it's blue, and then you start questioning yourself.
Yes.
Believe yourself. Believe your intuition.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm going to try to go through this just a little faster, since we're getting close to the end and there's still a lot more that we want to give. So what I'm going to do, Janette, is I'm going to read through the list, and then you can, anything that you want to go back to, like, just let it stick out. So, who I found out is cheating on his wife. So or husband, what they do is they point out somebody else's infidelity to distract you. Okay. What else was I supposed to do? You never want sex anymore. Really? How do I know you aren't cheating on me? I love when they throw turn the table on that one. I can change and everything will be fine. That's not true. It never would have happened if you blah, 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 whatever the excuse they use. It was just one stupid moment. like Janette said today. It was about to, I was about to tell you anyway, it's all in the past. No, they were never ready to tell you. You caught them and that's it. And so I just want to have a side note here. I wrote, if an individual does succumb to temptation and they are truly remorseful about it, they will tell you within a reasonable time after the fact. They will not hide it from you. In other words, like if something did happen between two people and they really, like, maybe they were drunk and maybe if they were remorseful, they would bring it out to you and tell you. But anybody who is really good at cheating, then they're not going to tell you. Like they never had any intention of telling you. And
They
nor
feel
will they
entitled to it.
What, Janette? I'm sorry.
They feel entitled to it.
Yeah.
Narcissists feel entitled to it. Hey, she looked good or he looked
Yep.
good.
Exactly. I don't know what I want right now. I never meant for you to find out. Of course not.
Yeah.
I'll end the affair, but I need some time to say goodbye. Why are you always accusing me of things like that? You're just jealous. All right. What else do we have? Almost done with this one. Please stop acting so insecure. That's a lie you heard from one of your friends, right? She hates me, and then if you're asking about behaviors, like what's going on, they'll say things like, my battery died on my phone. I couldn't call you. I couldn't text you. My car broke down. That's why I'm late. I had to work late. I've got to help a friend or family member. I've got to work late. Like they'll get out of the house and say, oh, so-and-so needs me to help, or I got to go check on my dad, or they'll use some excuse to get themselves out of the house. Okay. Anything you want to say before we go on to the next subject?
So you see, everyone, how important it is to avoid these people at all costs, because once you get entangled, they're going to suffocate and choke you out emotionally. That's
Right.
why that door is your best defense. The traits that I listed out and your ability to walk out that door early is going to save your life. Don't play with fire.
That's right. Yep. And you don't know how bad it is, like you're playing with fire and you could save your life. Some of them are not as bad. Some of them will let you go and there's no issue, but some of them are not. Some of them can be very dangerous and very possessive, and very controlling, and it's not a good situation. We talk about abuse. When we think of abuse, we always think of physical and you see the signs, but when you're talking about mental and emotional abuse, you can't see the signs. And most people who are being abused will make sure they hide it because they feel so ashamed. They don't want anybody to know what's going on with them. So they deflect a lot. And we don't want you to be that person if that's you, if you're currently in that situation. We're going to talk about myths about liars. All right. So this is just a few things, because sometimes you're told, oh, well, you'll be able to see that they're lying because the liars do this. And there's been a lot of research on this, and Janette she could definitely teach you how untrue a lot of the stuff out there is, that the way you can catch a liar. So liars don't look you in the eye. That's not true, man. They can look you dead in the eye and tell you exactly a lie. I mean, in fact, they look at you too much sometimes. They'll give you the dead stare. And that is, so it's not that they're jutting their eyes. Usually the people who don't want to look at you are the truth tellers, the ones that are lying for the first, like they're just hiding something and they look the other way. But the compulsive chronic liars will look you right in the eye and they will say, I didn't do it. I've got a picture of you here. It's just like that Shaggy song, say it wasn't you. You're on the camera. It was
double down.
you.
They will double down on their lies.
Yep.
And to Lori's point, the reason why they chronic, extraordinary, or pathological liars can look at you and lie is because they're trying to control you with the stare.
Yes.
They're also observing your body language to see you're believing their bullshit.
Yes.
And it's a form of control and manipulation and intimidation by looking at you. And if they cannot say the contraction, I didn't cheat on you, within 3 attempts, I didn't cheat on you. That is an honest answer. But if they deflect, blame, and gaslight, and you are hounding them and they finally say, I did not cheat. They didn't do the contraction.
Yeah.
The contraction didn't.
Yeah, you said something key, because even when you ask the question, they won't answer the question until they get themselves positioned, and then they do that. I did that. They get in your face. They look dead at you. I did not. That's awesome. Thanks for that, Janette. Yep. Liars stutter and pause. Nope. They actually practice what they want to say. They already have the whole thing in their head. So they often don't stutter because it is rehearsed. They know exactly how they want to say it, when they want to say it, unless you throw them for, like out of nowhere, you throw them a question and they weren't prepared. That's when they do that deflection. That's when they start going around the question and they do not answer it right away till they could get the story correct in their head that they want to say to you.
Now, I want to make a point about Lori's list. Liars will do all of that. The myth is to think that only liars show these traits and stereotypes. Honest, nervous, fidgety people can also show these traits, and liars, with their years and decades of practice and being rewarded, know how to control some of these things, but they will do all of those things. It's just being careful of the traits to avoid those people at all costs.
Yep.
Their bodies will, Tommy and I can still detect liars in their bodies. When you're trained, you know what to look for. But the myth is only liars will fidget and look away and stutter. Honest, truthful people often do that because they're nervous.
Yes. Yep. And in fact, I was getting to that one. That's the last on the list. Liars. The other thing too is with the reciting, when they practiced and they memorized where they were. One of the little things that sometimes people who are detecting liars do is they'll tell them to say it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, just say what you just told me, say it backwards, because they have memorized it in one order and they cannot. And if it was true, you would be able to say it backwards because it happened. So you'd be able to do that. Liars touch their face. Actually, it's a popular myth. There's no scientific evidence. Liars often use less hand gestures, and especially steer clear of their face. They sometimes they'll keep their hands pretty steady so that.
Jussie Smollett, Tommy.
Yep, that's right.
Everybody hug yourself, like on the sides with your hands in your lap. Okay, this is a self-hug to reassure themselves that it'll be okay. And Chris Watts, who choked out his wife and killed their 3- and 4-year-old daughter, he was like this, rocking. Everybody do this and rock. So you're still looking at pacifying behaviors. He was a liar and a 3-time killer of his family, and he's still showing the symptoms. So it's a myth that only liars show those symptoms.
Yep.
And liars also tell you a whole bunch of word salad and minutia, right, Tommy? Regarding Jussie Smollett.
Yep.
Let's say the story is this long. Well, Jussie Smollett spent this much of the story on nonsense, and he didn't even get to the fight or the tussle.
Yes.
The tussle. So
they'll give you like blow by blow. If you say, where were you? They'll say, well, I went here and then I did that, like everything. I don't know what the hell I did yesterday, like 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's everything, and they take their time. Liars, that says a couple of myths. Liars, you said fidget. That's not true. Liars are nervous. Liars will often purposely stay very calm and take their time explaining something. And because they want to make sure they get everything down and they keep themselves calm, because the moment anybody gets stressed out, even somebody who lies, if anybody gets stressed out, they will start to get a little jumbled and mixed up. So they got this down. So they will go through it and they'll look to the side, and it's very comical once you see it. Because it's almost like you're watching a movie after that when you start to see people do this.
Once you know what to look for.
Yep.
Now everybody go like this. Illustrate with your hands. Most people will, like when Lori was talking, she was illustrating with her hands.
Oh,
and if
yeah.
the hands are
not.
beating a fraction of a second ahead of the speech and in sync with the speech and the hands are credible. What liars tend to do is contain themselves and restrict their illustrative hand movements because it didn't happen, right? Or they want to control their hands. Jesse Smollett, Tommy, right? He didn't show his hand gestures. And Christopher Watts, he was hugging himself and not showing his fingers. Watch the hands.
Okay. We're almost done. I know we're out of time. So if you indulge us, just because this is, hopefully it's interesting to you, we want to just keep you on just a few more minutes. And I know we did get started about 5 minutes late anyway. So now if you're deciding to confront the individual, okay, be prepared for the confrontation. Like, this is just, you have got to go in with your, it's like going into court and being the attorney. And if you don't have all the information sitting in front of you in your paperwork, like ready to go, you're going to be made a fool out in the courtroom. And so you have got to bring everything to the table when you confront them. So if you're planning to do this, you've got to be prepared. When you're dealing with somebody who's a liar, first you must decide what you really want to do with this information. If you confirm he's been lying and cheating, what do you want the outcome to be? Like, if you think you want to stay together, you're going to have a completely different conversation than if you're saying, no, I'm going to be done with this. Because if you even remotely want to stay together, they're going to manipulate you as much as possible. Going in with no plan is going to be a problem because it allows you to be manipulated. If you want to work it out, have a plan. So there's no judgment. If you want it to work out, have a plan though. Okay. All right. So these individuals are good at lying. They can manipulate conversations, gaslight you. They will cover all their bases. You must have real proof. You must have all different types of proof. Okay. You must practice what you want to say. You must prepare for any and all possible responses and reactions. I can't tell you, I had proof, man, let me tell you. And it was still made to look like it wasn't true. This wasn't possible. Listen, I did my work. If I was an attorney doing a case, I would have won the case because I had so much information. I had text messages, emails. I had recordings, auditory, verbal recordings. I had conversations with these women, and everyone was a liar. Everyone was, that wasn't true. I was only kidding. You should have heard some of the excuses coming out of this. And even then there was a little piece of me, because I was still broken, that I was still wondering, like, maybe he's right. Maybe. And then you got to step back, and that's why you have to prepare yourself. If it means getting somebody to help you and say, this is what I'm doing, help me, like, walk me through this, because they are going to do their best to manipulate you. They do not want to be wrong. They do not want to be caught out. And it is, I'm telling you that's the health part. Like, that will really, really, just eat at you. So you have got to be ready. Like, you can't go in with like a half conversation, because they will fill in the blanks with something that sounds so good to you that you will believe it. And I did that for years until I got smart enough to say, I'm going to collect a whole bunch of stuff first, and then I'm going to come. And even with that, I still let out too much first, but like I confronted first before I was fully, I found information out. And had I just waited like 2 days, I would have had it all. Would have been a slam dunk case. Like, it would have been like there was no contest, because I would have had information. But I couldn't resist, because the emotions kick in and you want to confront them. You're pissed, you're upset, you want to just confront them, and so you gotta hold yourself back and bite that tongue and just get as much information as you can. Now, healing yourself from this, okay? Because you're worth it. Do you understand? If that person is a compulsive liar and cheater, you do not need to be with them. You are better than that, regardless of what the hell they say to you. You are an amazing person. So that is where you have to work on yourself. You have got to pull yourself out of that relationship. You have got to move on and start working on you and start filling in the holes and seeing why you allowed yourself to get attracted to that person, because there were things missing in you. If you attract it, I'm telling you, narcissists can find you. Narcissists do not like people who are very empowered. They don't like people who are very successful, self-made success. They don't like people who are very sure of themselves, who are very secure, because they cannot manipulate that person.
Right.
So they often will hate them. They'll like, oh, well, that person's a bitch, or that person's this, or they're a jerk, or because they can't get to them. So they don't want you to be that way. So they don't want you around those people. Okay.
Right.
So here's what I want you to consider: signs of toxicity or abuse. Okay. Narcissistic abuse, or just even narcissistic traits, any type of abuse, emotional, mental abuse, disassociation. This is you. You're disassociating, you're distracting yourself, binge eating, binge watching, binge shopping, anything to not have to deal with your life. You're distracting yourself. You have anxiety, depression, paranoia, lack of self-care. Put aside your basic needs and desires, sacrifice your emotional and maybe physical safety as a result of this individual. You're not getting enough sleep. You're losing sleep. You have health issues. You mistrust other people. Suicidal ideation, meaning that you have visions of suicide. Just, it's not that you are suicidal, you just kind of make it it's almost like a daydream. Self-harm, okay? Suicidal behavior, comparing yourself to others, blaming yourself, self-sabotage, self-destruction, fear of doing what you love and achieving success, gaslighting self, think you are crazy, isolate self from everyone. If you are in need of help, like if you are in this and you want to get out, you got to get help. You can't do this by yourself. You are going to need somebody to work with you, whether it's a therapist and a coach, or, whatever. I did both. I had a mentor, which is like a coach. I had a therapist, all at the same time. And I did the work myself, and you have got to know that you are worth it. I don't know what it was about that time that snapped me out of it. Finally, I always say it snapped me out of my life coma. And I'm very grateful. In the end, I'm very grateful to my ex-husband, because of the fact that I finally woke up and became the person I was always meant to be. For whatever reason, I was playing low and hiding and no more, and I am grateful to him for that. It sounds so funny, to say that, to have gone through what I went through, but forgiveness and gratitude are big game changers. And there's something that you need for healing when you're ready. I'm not saying to go ahead and forgive and be grateful to the people who hurt you right away. This takes time. You have to build up to this, but seek help. If you want to learn how to understand and deception, Janette's information is in the chat. It's also posted on the Facebook page. It's there. Click on it. You can save the chat. If you don't know how to save the chat, you click on the chat button, and then the 3 dots to the right of that emoji. You click on it, says save the chat, and you can save the chat, and has all the information on there. So if you want to learn how to do this and empower yourself, I strongly recommend working with Janette, because she is that good. And it is so interesting, and you will learn so much, not about just reading people, but you'll just be able to understand yourself a lot better as well. If you are stuck and you are in a really bad headspace and you are out of the relationship or trying to get out of the relationship, but you need coaching, that is my specialty. That's what I do. I work with women who are really in that low place, and I bring you back up. I bring you up here. Happy people bring up here. So my information's in there as well. So I know we indulge us. Thank you so much for staying on for the 8 minutes. Any last minute questions? And then Janette and I will close out. Anybody have any questions on anything? Okay, Samba, what's up? You could unmute.
So in a USA culture, it's wrong to not show hand gestures.
Oh,
No,
do
that's
not show hand
fine.
gestures.
Is that wrong in USA culture?
No,
It's not wrong. It's just, I think it's just common. I think people do a little bit, some more than others, right, Janette? I mean, it depends on um how they were raised.
Samba, were you talking about raising your hand for a question or illustrating while you're
When
talking?
you're talking.
The second one.
Yeah, when you're talking.
It is common in certain cultures, depending on the cultural norms. But in America, it is common to talk with your hands, and Italians, oh, bless their hearts. But that is also, the body expresses itself, and the hands are the most expressive regarding the verbal story. What culture are you from?
I am the son of a Peruvian mother and a Oaxacan father, both Native American parents, in fact.
Okay. But that's like, actually, that was a good question though, because you're right. Some cultures, not as much.
What about
Yeah.
in your culture, Samba?
Well, it kind of depends on whether or not people in my culture have been exposed to mainstream civilization. If they have, and they make hand gestures, it's usually get their point across, and nearly all these instances express a display of power or that someone else is in trouble.
I gotcha.
But for the most part, it's or when you want to show utter disrespect to a superior or a peer.
So Samba gave a great example. Let's say all of us were attorneys, and for some reason Samba found himself in trouble, and we were questioning Samba, and we noticed he was not, using his hand gestures like we would expect in America.
Yes.
And we didn't know his culture because he didn't reveal his culture to us, and he was being honest. So that's why the list that Lori gave about myths of liars, all those traits can be done by people who are truthful and forthcoming, but they're just uneasy and uncomfortable in that moment. And so they are not showing their hands because of their culture, or out of respect, out of their culture.
Right.
So thank you, Samba, for mentioning the cultural aspect.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was good. Anyone else before we head out? All right, Janette, what else last minute you have to say before we head out?
Please save the chat, everybody. Be kind to yourself. You deserve respect and kindness and compassion. Know the traits ahead of time to avoid the trouble. And Dr. Lori is available, and all of us can be supportive of one another on our journey. Follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'm there, and I will email you the narcissistic personality disorder traits. Okay. Thank you.
And listen, don't, you are worth it. Okay. You're not crazy. You deserve to live the life that you want to live. And if you're an honest person, you deserve to be with an honest person. You don't need to be with somebody that's manipulative. Life is too short. And, it took me to be to be 46 years old to realize that. And I could have been shining my light for a good 20 years, or more. But you are stronger than you think. You'll get through it. I mean, when I was I couldn't be any lower, honestly, when I was at my lowest. And you can get through it, and you can change your life, and you can be happy, and you can get the hell away from that individual. So it's toxic, and you need to go, and you need to, and you need to choose you. So hopefully you got something from this tonight, and definitely reach out to us and stay connected with us. And if you need anything, just ask us if you have a question. And we really thank everybody for coming on tonight. So thank you for being here.
We're here
And
for you. And
we
if you
are
want,
out.
if you want to type something about your impression of Dr. Lori and the content of this class, that's, you know, good information for Dr. Lori and me. Choose kind, compassionate people to surround yourself with.
That's right.
And that is a very good protection when you surround yourself with kind, compassionate people.
Yes. Yep. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. You all take care, and be you, be real, and be extraordinary. Thanks so much for coming on. Bye, everybody.
Awesome show.